Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And we're continuing to move forward in this 2028 to 2029 offseason. Signed one player in international amateur free agency this year for every penny that we have. We've got about 2.5 weeks until the start of spring training. Big news since the last episode. We had about $1.71 million available, and we made an offer to a player that I'm actually surprised they even are willing to think about. Joe Rock is a guy who we've been keeping our eye on through this off season. Some viewers have recommended considering trying to bring him on board. He's looking for 3 years at $7.5 million a year, and that's technically what we offered him. But we offered him $1.5 million for this upcoming season, and then $10 million team options for the second and third seasons. That contract is so backloaded that I'm actually surprised he was willing to think about it. But if we're really able to bring him on board for next year at $1.5 million, I think he could help. Gives us another guy to compete for a spot in the rotation. More importantly, he's very popular and may give us a little boost in fan interest, in addition to hopefully being somewhat helpful as another left-handed pitcher who could start or relieve for us. I tend to think he's ultimately going to get an option that he likes more, or he'll ultimately come back and say that structure just doesn't work. As I mentioned, I was playing around, and that was about as much as we could offer. Would obviously love if we're able to get Rock on board. That's something we'll find out going forward. And big day today here on February 7th. Ozzy Albies, JT Realmuto, and a reunion with Ryan Feltner on a minor league contract. But most importantly, Joe Rock did ink that deal. Fan interest improved 3 points to 61, so we'll take it. As I said, I can't ever recall such a backloaded deal actually being agreed to by a player. And a lot of times it seems like when I try to make a backloaded contract offer, it just doesn't even let me do it. I don't think you can get much more backloaded than this, but essentially we've guaranteed him $2.5 million for this upcoming season. We almost certainly will be opting out of that $10 million for next year, but pretty cost-effective way to get a popular player, giving us a little boost to fan interest, and another guy who certainly could be in our rotation if we need him down the line, but likely will end up being a long or middle reliever for us when the season gets going. Rock, in a couple of relatively short stints in the majors, has put up a 135 ERA plus and a 102 FIP minus over parts of 2 seasons with the Tampa Bay Rays, and now he is a member of our Rockies squad. And we've made it to the start of spring training. Going to spend some time working on what we want our lineups to look like. 1 day away from the longer development lab programs being resolved. Looks like we've got potential for 3 successful programs. Charlie Condon, quality of contact. Ryan Stone, quality of contact. And then since the last time we checked in, looks like Francisco Santos has a chance for a successful quality of contact program as well. Definitely look like at least 5 will be unsuccessful, however. The close one is going to be whether Pinky Santos ends up improving in his ability to make contact with the ball or not. And we tied the Mets on opening day as expected. Only 3 successful programs. Just make sure that there's no material changes from all of the unsuccessful programs that we have, and it doesn't look like anything material has happened there. So Charlie Condon, when we took over, one of the top couple of prospects in this Rockies organization, just hasn't really developed. Did have a successful trip to the development lab. Current BABIP rating improved by 5 points. Don't know if that in and of itself is going to be significant enough for him to become a true impact player. He has had a little bit of opportunity over the last couple of years with us in Colorado. 203 career hitter, over 212 at-bats. Does have 8 home runs in those 212 at-bats, but ultimately has been a well below average offensive player and below a replacement level player overall. Ryan Stone, good to see some success here. His current BABIP rating only improved a little bit, so not necessarily the most impactful, but he was our first round pick a year ago, played well in the development league or the draft league, and then did very well in Class A for us. Still think he could be a pretty important player for us down the line. Hopefully he'll continue moving forward. And then Francisco Santos, his BABIP rating improved by 5 points, so a little bit of progress for him. 19-year-old, spent a full year in the DSL with a 369 average last year. He's been a well above average player both times at that level, even though he'll only be 19 years old on opening day. Certainly think it's conceivable that he will be playing in A-ball, and almost certainly will start him with our ACL team rather than waiting for the DSL season if he doesn't look quite ready for the jump up to A-ball. And we will be re-racking the development lab with some of the shorter programs. Marcelo Meyer and Kevin Roberts going to be working on their base stealing and base running respectively. Other than that, some of the younger players on our 26-man roster and or the organization going to be working on defense. Chris Predmore, the pitcher, Charlie Condon, and Ian Petrutz working on infield defense. Caleb Lomavita working on his defense at catcher. And then Ryan Stone and Trent Clausen, a couple of the outfielders in our minor league organization who are closer, hopefully, to potentially being able to help us in the majors, will both be working on their outfield defense over these next 4 or 5 weeks. So with that, let's start moving forward through spring training. Hopefully we can keep this team healthy, and we'll see what the preseason prediction for us looks like at the end of this episode. Didn't really do much of anything at all this offseason for the major league team. Jordan Hicks and Joe Rock, a couple of middling pitchers who are, for whatever reason, relatively popular, are the really only 2 players that we signed to major league contracts this offseason, given just didn't have a lot of money to play around with. And about midway through spring training, things are going pretty well. 10-4-2 record for our Rockies. Drew Romo, the outstanding defensive catcher, leading the league in hitting. Gus Nieves second with a .419 batting average. No surprise to see Chandler Simpson leading the league in steals, even if it is only spring training. And Nieves is second in OPS right now as we sit here on March 12th. Got our mid-tenure evaluations. We've got 4 players who are frustrated. Marcelo Meyer, base stealing. Caleb Lomavita with his defense. Ian Petrutz with his defense. And Ryan Stone with his outfield defense. But 4 guys are on track, including 2 that are excelling. Trent Clausen on track with his improved defense. Chris Predmore, who we drafted in the 4th round a couple of years ago, is not too far off from being potential help for us in the bullpen, working on improving his defense as a pitcher. Kevin Roberts Jr., number 1 pick from a few years ago, working on base running fundamentals, and he's excelling there. And Charlie Condon, for whatever it's worth, is excelling in his defensive program, focused on improving his ability as a first baseman. Of course, we got the good result in the development lab when he was working on contact a couple weeks ago. And spring training is over. Rockies did slow down a bit over the second half of spring training, ended up 15-10-3. Simpson, of course, led the league in steals. Dre Jameson, who's fighting for a spot in the rotation, tied for second in the league with 3 wins. And Gregory Santos tied for the league lead in the spring with 3 saves, although he'll likely be more of a setup man for us, possibly even a middle reliever when we make some roster decisions before the regular season starts just 3 days from now. And we've made the decisions on our 26-man roster. Can't say that there's going to be a ton of surprises. Among the pitchers, the final 2 cuts were Anderson Guevara. He was the Rule 5 acquisition we made from St. Louis in December. Only had 35 control, so just didn't really see a reason to keep him around. And then Ryan Feltner, our starter for the first 3 years of this playthrough, who we signed to a minor league contract, also going to begin the year for us in AAA. So the rotation, Luzardo, Lopez, Net, and Miller were all in the rotation by the end of last year. They'll be joined with our number 5 starter, the new addition, Jordan Hicks. Ryan Walker back as our closer. Wellington Herrera moves into a setup role where he's joined by the lefty Gregory Soto and the righty Gregory Santos, who have had setup roles for us the last couple of years. Jaden Hill back in a middle relief role, as is Drew Summers. And then Dre Jameson and Joe Rock, who were also in the competition to get the 5th starter spot for us, will be working in middle relief and long relief, respectively, at least at the start of this 2029 season. Turning to the position players, not really a lot of new names or surprises here either. Drew Romo going to be back as our everyday catcher. Charlie Condon and the addition Ian Petrutz will be platooning at first base for us. Austin Wells will be a DH/backup catcher for us. Marcelo Meyer back at second base against right-handed pitching. Adail Amador will be our everyday third baseman. Jared Cerna will be playing left field for us against left-handed pitching to start the season. Ezekiel Tovar, of course, our everyday shortstop. The platoon in left field is going to be Chandler Simpson against righties. Toshimi Masuda once again against lefties. Brenton Doyle will be our everyday center fielder. Cole Carrig, a super utility guy who's going to play second base for us against left-handed pitching. And then last year's Rookie of the Year / All-Star / Silver Slugger / Most Valuable Player, Gus Nieves, will be our everyday right fielder in 2029. Still going to be doing some tweaking of the lineups before we get to opening day and actually playing the games, but we've made the decisions on who's going to be heading north from Arizona to Colorado with the Rockies here in 2029. And with 2 days left until opening day and 2 days left in the development lab, things haven't been going well since we checked in. Kevin Roberts Jr. still looks like he'll be successful on base running fundamentals. Charlie Condon still looks like he'll be effective overall with his infield defense program. But the other guys where we thought we might have some success this offseason have not made as much progress over the last couple of weeks since we last checked in, unfortunately. And Mr. Monfort expecting us to at least reach the playoffs for a 4th consecutive season. We'll be starting off this year against our division rival San Diego Padres, and things really turned incredibly over those last 2 days. We ended up with 5 out of 8 programs being successful or outstanding. So definitely a sign that things can change in relatively short order. No improvement for Caleb Lomavita at catcher, Ian Petrutz with his infield defense, or Trent Clausen in his outfield defense. But Marcelo Meyer ultimately was successful, improving his stealing and his stealing aggressiveness a bit. Kevin Roberts Jr., base running improved. Chris Predmore, the young pitcher, successful improving his infield defense. Ryan Stone improved his outfield defense, arm, range, and error rating, all by a relatively modest amount. And Charlie Condon, outstanding result in his infield defense program. Arm and range both improved by 5, along with his turn 2 rating. The error rating improved a little bit as well. Still looks like primarily a first base type, although with the modest improvements he made, could play him at third base if we needed to, which does give him a little bit more versatility. As we talked about, as the season gets underway, he'll be our first baseman against left-handed pitching, so the 25-year-old not going to be getting everyday playing time with the Rockies as this 2029 season is about to get underway. And the top prospects list has been published. Unfortunately, no Colorado Rockies among the top 10. Quick look at player development, and have dropped back a bit. Looks like we are ranked 10th out of 30 minor league systems overall. That being said, we still do have 6 top 100 prospects, led by Jordan Contreras. And it looks like potentially we might be able to spend $5.7 million on international amateur free agents next year. So that was a positive development, with the fact that we're down to a 26-man roster now. Going to have a tiny amount of money to play with. If we bring on some contracts to help us, I guess there's still time to change things before we get into the season. Guess it might be useful to see how we're expected to perform. If we're expected to be a true championship contender this year, might make sense to lower scouting and development a bit to give ourselves a little more financial flexibility. The American League, no one expected to win 90 games. The Orioles in the AL East and the Mariners in the AL West with 89 expected to be the top 2 teams in the AL. Mr. Montez, after an MVP award last year, looks like he's going to have another big year. And Aaron Judge, now 36 years old, expected to have a nice year for the Yankees as well. Over in the National League, projected to be 2 90-win teams. The Diamondbacks, who are projected to win the division, and then our Rockies, somehow projected to finish second in the division with 92 wins and be 4 games ahead of the mighty Dodgers. Certainly would love it if that's the way things worked out. Nieves, after his outstanding rookie season last year, projected to have 45 homers and 124 ribbies in his sophomore season in the majors. Not surprisingly, none of our starting pitchers expected to have really big years. Paul Skeens, at the age of 26, expected to go 15-12 with 278 strikeouts for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And 2 primary goals for Mr. Condon this year. We already talked about he wants us to make the playoffs again, and wants us to upgrade at first base, where we're going to have that somewhat uninspiring platoon of Mr. Petrutz and Mr. Condon. One other option would be to acquire a Most Valuable Player award winner over the next 3 seasons. I don't think I'm going to play around with that one. We're in the first year of a 3-year extension. I think it's pretty unlikely we're going to get canned after this season, even if we miss out on both of these goals. So we'll see what we can do at first base with the guys who are on the team. So the season is ready to get underway. As I noted, probably going to be tweaking some of the lineups offline between now and the start of the season in the next episode. Also got a lot of work to do to ensure that everyone in our minor league system is playing at the proper levels. But we are through another offseason, and we're expected to be a 90-plus win team here and make the playoffs for a 4th straight time in 2029. In the upcoming episodes, we'll find out whether we're able to achieve that goal or not here in 2029. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.